Warning, this video contains spoilers for Transformers Rise of the Beast. If you have not yet seen the movie, click away now and come back once you've seen it. You've been warned. But if you've seen the movie, continue watching. Enjoy. Cue the intro.
RACCOON hyphen FORMERS. What does that spell? Raccoon-Formers, yeah! Raccoon-Formers, the YouTube channel for all of your Transformer needs.
Hello everyone, Raccoon-Formers here, and today I will be making a full, in-depth, spoiler-filled review on the best Transformers film of all time, Transformers Rise of the Beast. I apologize for not getting to this video sooner, but I had a lot to say about this movie and I needed a lot of time to process it. And I had a bunch of other videos I needed to get out first. But now, it's time to finally get this video out for y'all so you can hear all my thoughts about the best Transformers film of all time, in my opinion. Mostly I have pros for this movie, but I do have a few cons, and I'll try to dive into everything in this video. So let's start with the first pro I have. The first pro I have with this movie is the opening scene. It was awesome. It was the first movie that didn't start out with Optimus Prime narration. It started out with Optimus Primal narration, proving that the Maximals were going to be a big part of the story, and I liked that. He was talking about Unicron being a big threat, and then it cut to the Maximals' home planet where we saw Ape-Link, the Maximals' leader, running away from some of Unicron's minions. And then Optimus Primal came in to the rescue, and then the other Maximals, Airazor, Rhinox, and Cheetor came in, and they discussed their plan. And that led into a real nice brotherhood moment, in my opinion. Ape-Link told the Maximals to take the transwarp key, which is what Unicron and his minions were after, and escape. Optimus Primal obviously didn't want to, since Ape-Link was his mentor and he wanted to stay back and help. But Ape-Link insisted, saying that he needed the Maximals to protect the key to keep Unicron from being able to use it to open a portal through time and space and destroy any worlds he wanted. Then he appointed Optimus Primal as the new leader of the Maximals. And that was enough to get him to leave, but you could definitely see the pain on Optimus Primal's face as he left, which made this a real heartwarming moment, in my opinion, while also a heartbreaking one. Then we got probably the best thing about this movie, Scourge. Scourge came in and we got to hear Peter Dinklage's awesome performance of this character. I mean, he was so menacing, and he's told Ape-Link that if the Maximals gave up the transwarp key, Unicron would spare their home. Ape-Link didn't want to, saying that they'd rather die than let him reach other planets, and then a battle took place. Ape-Link tried his best, but unfortunately Scourge was too powerful and blew a hole through his shoulder, causing him to fall down. And right before he did, he took off Ape-Link's insignia and welded it onto his own body. Then it was revealed to Scourge that the Maximals had escaped with the transwarp key, and we got a shot that seemed very similar to the shot at the end of the intro to the Bumblebee movie, with Optimus Primal peering out of the escape pod, and then it cut to Unicron, who was really upset that the transwarp key got away with the Maximals, and enlisted Scourge to scour through the galaxy to find it. And then Unicron very brutally destroyed the Maximals' home planet. And then that was it. The title card appeared, and we were off to the races. I still think the introduction to the Bumblebee movie was cooler, considering we got all of the OG characters making an appearance with their original G1 design with subtle live-action qualities. I mean, nothing can beat that, in my opinion. But this was definitely a close second. This intro was awesome, and it was a major pro for this movie. The next pro I have with this movie are its human characters. The human characters are probably the main downfall I have with any of the Transformers movies, because most of the time they focus way too deeply on the human characters rather than the Transformers, when this is a Transformers movie we're dealing with. But the human characters we got in this movie, Noah played by Anthony Ramos and Elena played by Dominic Fishback, were very well written characters and they were very interesting. My personal favorite was Noah. Anthony Ramos gave a pretty good performance for him, and I really liked how he was actually battling in the final battle, because at the end of the movie he got an exosuit after Mirage was injured, and then Noah was in on the battle. We don't normally have humans in on the battle, and this was a really cool sight to see, which is why Noah is my personal favorite human protagonist from this movie out of the two. But Elena was very good too, and the chemistry that Anthony Ramos and Dominic Fishback had was pretty cool in my opinion. This movie had pretty good human protagonists, and that's definitely a major pro for this movie. The next pro I had with this movie is all of the voice acting choices. Stephen Caple Jr. definitely knew what he was doing when assigning these roles. He had many slam dunks here. Basically, all of them were. Of course, we have the GOAT himself, Peter Cullen, voicing Optimus Prime. He's a no-brainer. He is the definitive actor for Optimus Prime in my eyes. No one else can play the character as well as he, and I'm glad they brought him in on this project. I loved Optimus in this movie, and it's probably Peter Cullen's best performance yet. Pete Davidson voiced Mirage, and he was definitely the class clown of the group. He definitely got a lot of laughs out of me, and a bunch of laughs out of the other people who were watching the movie at the same time I was on June 8th. A+ casting right there. Lisa Kojay gave her own personal take on RC. She was definitely super cool in this movie. Cristo Fernandez, I think that's how you say his name, played Wheeljack and did a decent enough job. I'm still not a huge fan of Wheeljack's design, but it's nice that we got his earpieces in that final battle. It just would have been nice to see more of Wheeljack with those earpieces, but we're getting off topic. Ron Perlman reprised his role of Optimus Primal from the Power of the Primes TV series and definitely did a real good job. It kind of would have been nice to get Gary Chalk in here because he's the OG voice actor for Optimus Primal from Beast Wars, but Ron Perlman is definitely a pretty good choice as well, especially considering he's played the character before. Let me know in the comments which Optimus Primal performance you like best, Gary Chalk or Ron Perlman. But Ron Perlman did a pretty good job, and that's definitely a pretty good cast choice. Michelle Yeoh voiced AirRaiser, who was probably one of my favorite Maximals from the movie, and it would have been real nice to get more of her, but more on that once we get to the cons. I really liked Michelle Yeoh's performance here, and that's definitely a pretty good cast choice. Tangaya Teresa voiced Cheetor. Cheetor was definitely real funny in Beast Wars, and he was definitely funny with what he was given here. It just would have been nice to see more of him, but more on that when we get to the cons. But Tangaya Teresa did a pretty good job with this role. David Sobolov voiced Rhinox and Battletrap. David Sobolov is no newbie to Transformers and has voiced many other Transformers in different series. So I definitely appreciated that he was in this movie and he did a good job as the two characters. John DiMaggio, who voiced Crosshairs and Leadfoot, came back to the Transformers universe and voiced Stratosphere, who was really funny and it would have been nice to see more of. But I really liked that they brought him back into the Transformers universe because he was definitely one of the highlights of Age of Extinction. Peter Dinklage voiced Scourge, and you all know how I feel about his performance. He was definitely so menacing, and I think he might be my new favorite Transformers villain. Stay tuned for a future ranking coming soon. But in my opinion, he owned this role, and it was definitely a phenomenal casting choice. Michaela J. Rodriguez voiced Nightbird, and was definitely super menacing as well. And I really liked how she was able to fly. She was able to fly in robot mode, and she was able to drive in her vehicle mode, which was a car. Pretty cool in my opinion, and it would have been nice to see more of her. And finally, we have Coleman Domingo as none other than the mighty Unicron. Unicron is definitely a big bad, and you need a good voice actor to make Unicron seem menacing, and Coleman Domingo did just that. He had such a powerful voice, and definitely let everyone in the theater know who the big bad of the movie was. Let me know in the comments if I missed any characters and their voice actors. Overall, Stephen Caple Jr. definitely blew it out of the park with his casting choices. Each actor owned the role that they played. And that's definitely a major pro for this movie. The next pro I have is Optimus Prime and Noah Diaz's character arc and how they kind of intertwined near the end of the movie. Noah started out really only wanting to get money to help his brother Chris because he was kind of sick and no doctors were willing to take care of him because they were behind on the hospital bill. And that's the only reason why he even teamed up with the Autobots to get the transwarp key, was that way he could sell Mirage to get money to help Chris, and he wanted to actually destroy the transwarp key because he only cared about saving Earth and didn't care that it would prevent the Autobots from being able to go home. And Optimus Prime, on the other hand, is not the gentle giant that everyone is familiar familiar with most of the other Transformers movies. He just arrived on Earth and hadn't really interacted with humans, so he was definitely very cautious about them. And he didn't want Noah and Elena to be in on the action because he didn't really trust them. But at the very end of the movie, it was revealed that Noah and Optimus Prime's character arc were sort of intertwined the whole time, because they both really wanted the same thing. They wanted to do what's best for their people. Noah wanted what was best for his family and for his brother Chris, and Optimus Prime wanted what was best for his crew. Or his family, I should say. And it was really sweet, especially that one moment in the Force where Noah was wanting to destroy the transwarp key, but Optimus Prime just showed a little bit of emotion, not wanting him to destroy the key. And he was able to convince Noah to listen to reason and not destroy the key. That moment was definitely really cool. And also there was that one moment on the mountain after Scourge got the other half of the key where Optimus and Noah were talking and how they were explaining to each other that they should have been fighting the darkness together rather than apart. And that's when the final battle gets started, and that's when Optimus and Noah fully realized that their character arcs were intertwined. And I really liked that moment, and that's definitely a major pro for this movie. The next pro I have is how Bumblebee made his grand return in the final battle after being absent throughout most of the film. In the museum battle where the Predacons were trying to get the transwarp key from Noah and Elena, Scourge was actually able to get the upper hand on Optimus and knocked this pillar down on top of him, causing him to get stuck, and he was about to get killed by Scourge, but Bumblebee came in with Optimus's axe, which he accidentally ended up dropping, to try and end up saving him, but Scourge was able to somehow sense that he was going to do that and turned around right as Bumblebee leaped, and yes, he got stabbed. Then Scourge used this cannon to sort of suck out the rest of Bumblebee's life force, which was definitely a super sad moment, especially if you're a fan of Bumblebee. Then Scourge tore off Bumblebee's Autobot insignia, something that his character is known to do, which I find really cool, and then he died. And you're probably wondering why I didn't include this in the cons, because hey, Bumblebee is the face of Transformers, and killing him off should definitely be a con, but the way that he actually returned to the action near the end of the film definitely had to have this on my pros list. During the final battle, there was a scene where Energon was shot out throughout Peru, whereas the battle took place, and that ended up reaching where Bumblebee's body was resting, and that was enough to bring him back to life. And then it cut back to the final battle where all seemed bleak and Optimus was getting covered by a bunch of the Terracons' minions. And then Stratosphere flew in and the back door opened, and sure enough, Bumblebee was there. As the reveal happened, the song Mama Said Knock You Out started playing, and it started with literally the perfect lyric. Don't call it a comeback! Because it was Bumblebee's comeback, and then he dove out of Stratosphere, started taking down some of Unicron's drones with not one, but both of his arm cannons. That moment was so cool. And during that whole process, he was even able to take down Nightbird with her own wing. That moment was one of the coolest movie moments in all of history for me, which is why Bumblebee dying is not included in my list of cons for this movie. Such a cool moment is definitely a major pro for this movie. The next pro I have is the final battle of the film itself. A lot of people have been saying that the final battle is unoriginal because it kind of rips off Avengers Endgame's final battle, which I guess I can kind of see, but I don't see it as something bad. I see it as something good, because Avengers Endgame final battle was very action-packed, and so was this final battle. I don't see that as an issue, but that's just my personal opinion. But this final battle was epic. It started out with the Autobots and Maximals standing on top of a hill, facing down Scourge, Nightbird, and Battletrap, and then it showed this awesome lineup of all the Maximals and Autobots. And that's when we got to see Wheeljack with his earpieces for the only time in this movie, so that definitely adds an extra few brownie points, you know? Then one of the coolest lines ever was said. Optimus Primal said, "Maximals!" Optimus Prime said, "Autobots!" And then they both said, "Roll out!" And then the final battle was off. Everyone charged into the battlefield, and all the Terracons charged into the battlefield, except for Scourge, who stayed to guard the transwarp key. And then, probably my favorite scene out of the whole movie happened. Optimus Primal gave one of the best callbacks in movie history, and told Rhinox and Cheetor to maximize, which is the code word that all of the Maximals used when they transformed in Beast Wars, and that was such a cool thing that they homaged. So cool. But after that, Rhinox transformed into his robot mode, Cheetor transformed into his robot mode, and my boy Optimus Primal transformed into his robot mode. And each of their robot modes looked super accurate to how they appeared in Beast Wars, and it was super cool to actually get to see him transform. It just would have been nice if we got to see Airazor transform, but more on that once we get to the cons. And in the battle, each of the bad guys met their unfortunate demise. Battletrap got his face smashed in by his own mace when Optimus Primal tore it off and used it against him. Nightbird got her wing tore off by Bumblebee, and he jammed it into Nightbird, causing her to explode. And Scourge died because Optimus Prime kept his promise to
take off his head,
which is exactly what ended up happening. Unicron, however, did not die. He just got trapped in the universe that he was previously in when the Transwarp Keys portal ended up closing, which means that we'll probably see him again very soon. Fingers crossed. And that's when it cut to the movie's ending, with Optimus giving yet another phenomenal speech, and then the movie ended. That was a phenomenal final battle, and it's definitely a major pro for this movie. The next pro I have is the amazing soundtrack for this movie. Most of the soundtrack just consists of scores that don't really have any lyrics, but there are some songs in here, and they are definitely certified bangers, so I'm going to list some of them out for y'all. I won't be playing any of the songs or scores because it's too high of a risk for copyright, and I don't really want to risk that, especially with an important video like this. But take my word for it, the movie's entire soundtrack is phenomenal. I'll try my best to list out all of the soundtrack for this movie. Let me know in the comments if I miss anything. We have Humans and Autobots United, Switchback Chase, What Are You, Home Team, Chris Meets Mirage, Saving Elena, A Long Time Ago, Hiding in Plain Sight, The Final Battle Begins, Battle of Ellis Island, Till All Are One, Here's My Card, Volcano Battle, Mirage's theme song, The Maximals' theme song, Unicron and Scourge's theme song, The Village, Unicron Approaches, Arriving in Peru, Fallen Hero, The Cave, One Last Stand, Autobots Enter, More Than Meets the Eye, Museum Heist, and No Matter the Cost. I'm pretty sure that list is incomplete because it's just something I found on Google, because there are actually 2 more songs from the film that were never actually mentioned in this list. The first song is Mama Said Knock You Out. I already talked about how cool that song is and how it was incorporated into that one scene where Bumblebee returns, so I'm not going to waste time talking about that again, but you all know that song rules. And the other song that wasn't actually mentioned is probably my favorite song out of the whole movie. It's the song On My Soul. It's performed by none other than the character of Reek himself, or at least the actor who plays him, Toby Nwigwe. I hope that's how you pronounce his name anyway. This song was awesome in my opinion. My favorite thing about it is how it was put into the movie. It was put in 2 places. The credits and the final battle. And the way this music incorporated with the final battle's action was so cool. I would show you, but like I said, I don't want to risk getting copyrighted, but take my word for it. This song mixed with the final battle is awesome. But this entire soundtrack is definitely a major pro for this movie. The final pro that I have for this movie is its ending, and not because I wanted the movie to end by any means. I did not want this thing to end. It was that good. But the movie set up an HCU. You're probably wondering what an HCU is. The Hasbro Cinematic Universe. Let me explain. It ended with Noah getting another chance at a job interview after his first one got canceled. And it showed him talking to this guy who seemed really suspicious, because somehow he knew about all of Noah's time with the Autobots and Maximals in Peru. Don't know how, it never really explained, but somehow he knew about all of it, and he wanted to recruit them all into his organization because there was an apparent ongoing war going on. Noah, being the loyal friend that he is, was not going to rat out the Autobots or Maximals and just denied everything. And I think the guy knew he wasn't going to spill the beans, so he just stopped the conversation there. But he wasn't done. He told Noah that for his bravery, he and his team were going to cover all of his brother Chris's health care, which definitely made me smile because that's what Noah wanted throughout all of this movie, and it was nice that he finally got it. He definitely deserves it. Then the guy got up and gave Noah a business card, and then went over to the back wall of the meeting room and tilted one of the plaques to the side, and it opened up a secret room. He hopped on an elevator and it started to descend, and he told Noah that he could really use him on his team and and told him to think it over. And then when Noah looked down at the business card, it showed none other than G.I. Joe, Hasbro's other big property. And then the credits started to roll. But let's go back to what I said about the G.I. Joe coming into the Transformers universe, because that's what puts this on the pros list. We've gotten 3 G.I. Joe movies in the past. The one with Channing Tatum called The Rise of Cobra, the one with The Rock, which is the sequel to The Rise of Cobra, which is called Retaliation, I think, and that Snake Eyes origin movie. And none of them were really taken all that well by critics or audiences, so none were actually made since then. And since Transformers is making its comeback after the not-so-good reception of Transformers The Last Knight, it's nice that they're sort of trying to dig into their other big property, G.I. Joe, to give it the comeback it deserves. And we've gotten a few G.I. Joe/Transformer crossovers in the past. I think there were a few comics about that. And I'm pretty sure there were a few characters from Transformers Earth Wars that had to do with G.I. Joe. But we've never actually gotten that in a movie or series, and it looks like we're going to get that in the sequel to Rise of the Beast, and I am pumped for that. More on that in a future video I'm going to make where I talk about everything I want to see in the sequel to Rise of the Beast. But such a cool ending is definitely a major pro for this movie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those are all of the phenomenal pros I have with Transformers Rise of the Beast, which is why this movie is #1 in my ranking. But unfortunately, gang, there are a few things that this movie could have done better. I have a few cons with this movie because nothing is perfect, even a phenomenal movie such as this. So let's get started with the first con I have. The first con I have is the fact that 2 of the most popular characters from Beast Wars who made their live-action debut in Rise of the Beast had such little to do. Those characters are Rhinox and Cheetor. Don't get me wrong, both of the characters looked awesome in both Beast mode and Robot mode, but they just did not have a lot to do, because the film mainly focused on Optimus Primal because he's the leader and it would kind of be hard not to focus on him. And they focused on Airazor because of the fact that she got mind-controlled by Scourge and had to get killed by Optimus Primal. So Rhinox and Cheetor really got sunlight, and I'm not a fan of that. And neither of them got all that many voice lines either. Tangaya Teresa's Cheetor had a few lines, but Rhinox, I don't think he did. Like I said before, Rhinox was played by David Sobolov, or at least that's how he's credited if you look up the cast of the movie on Google, but I don't think he ever actually had any lines. Battletrap, who was also voiced by David Sobolov, had lines, but I don't think Rhinox did. Let me know in the comments if I'm mistaken. But overall, I really am not happy with them sidelining 2 awesome characters. They're OGs. They should have had more to do, and I am praying that they'll have more to do in the sequel to Rise of the Beast. More on that in an upcoming video, stay tuned. But the fact that these 2 OG characters hardly had anything to do in the movie is definitely an unfortunate con for this movie. The next con I have with this movie is the fact that they killed off Airazor, who was such an interesting character. Michelle Yeoh gave such a good performance for this character, making her sound super wise and made her my personal favorite Maximal from the movie, but she was gone too soon. As y'all know, in the Peru battle, Airazor came in trying to help, giving us that iconic shot that we saw from the first teaser trailer, but in that scene, Scourge shot a blast at Airazor that hit her. But it turns out that blast allowed Scourge to corrupt Airazor's mind, giving Scourge the location of the Maximals' hideout, and it also turned Airazor basically into Scourge's puppet. Airazor ended up grabbing Elena and brought the other half of the transwarp key right to Scourge, and then Scourge ordered Airazor to kill Optimus Primal, and since Airazor was still under Scourge's control, she obeyed, and Optimus Primal had no choice but to kill her. It was quite a sad scene because you could see the sadness in Optimus Primal's eyes as he did the deed, but as he said,
no matter the cost.
But it definitely was a shame that she was killed off so soon, because we never even got a chance to see Airazor transform. We got to see Rhinox, Cheetor, and Optimus Primal transform, but we never actually did get a chance to see Airazor transform, because the other Maximals didn't transform until the final battle, and Airazor was dead by then. And I recently picked up Studio Series Airazor, who I have a review on coming soon, so stay tuned. But I noticed that Studio Series Airazor has a robot mode. and it looks really, really cool. It was obviously just based off of Airazor's appearance from Beast Wars, and it was a straight up repaint of a different Airazor figure, but the way it looked really cool, and it really makes me wish that we got to see that robot mode in the movie. But the fact that they killed off such an interesting character so soon is definitely an unfortunate con for this movie. The next con I have is probably my biggest one. It's the fact that Rattrap and Dinobot did not make an appearance. Pretty much all of the other Maximals did. Optimus Primal did, Rhinox did, Cheetor did, and Airazor did. But Rattrap and Dinobot are two of the OGs. Airazor didn't make an appearance until later in the series, so I honestly feel like Rattrap should have been put in the movie instead of Airazor, even though I really like Michelle Yeoh's performance as Airazor. It really would have been nice to see Rattrap and Dinobot. And what makes me not like it even more is the exact reason behind it. I heard that Stephen Caple Jr. felt like there wasn't any room for Rattrap and Dinobot, and that's why they were left out. Dinobot, I guess I can understand, because we would have to have the Predacons in the movie in order for Dinobot's storyline to make any sense, since he broke away from the Predacons to join the Maximals, but more on that in a little bit. But Rattrap, on the other hand, I have to disagree with you, Stephen Caple Jr. There would have been plenty of room, but that's just me. Rattrap is definitely one of the major standouts for me in Beast Wars because of how funny he is, and Dinobot was definitely one of the series' most interesting characters with all the inner conflict he was dealing with. So the fact that these two characters didn't make an appearance is definitely an unfortunate con for this movie. The next con I have is the fact that the Predacons weren't referenced at all throughout the movie. They are the main antagonists of Beast Wars, and as happy as I was to see Unicron in live action after missing out on that opportunity when the sequel to Last Night got canceled, but to be honest with you, a part of me wishes that the Predacons were the antagonist of the movie instead, since the movie is called Rise of the Beasts, and they're bad guys that transform into beasts just like the Maximals. Even taking into consideration how awesome Peter Dinklage was as Scourge, because you cannot tell me that these characters would not look sick in live action. But that's just my personal opinion. Let me know in the comments what yours is. But I was hoping that they would have at least referenced the Predacons, maybe on like a post-credit scene or a mid-credit scene, but unfortunately that did not happen. There wasn't a post-credit scene, and the only mid-credit scene was that one scene where Noah was working in a shop, similar to how Charlie did in the Bumblebee movie, and it revealed that Mirage was still alive, just with new colors. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy that Mirage is still alive, because he was definitely one of the standouts in the movie, but it really would have been nice to get a reference to the Predacons to tease up the sequel that's coming out in the near future. But I guess there's nothing I can do about it, but that's just my personal opinion, and it's definitely an unfortunate con for this movie. The next con I have for this movie is the fact that we didn't get to see Scourge remove a lot of insignias in the movie, which in my opinion is his coolest trait. The only insignias that we got to see him remove were Apelink's insignia and Bumblebee's insignia. That's it. And if you look at the scene where he was welding Apelink's insignia onto his shoulder, you could see a lot of other insignias there. You could see a Decepticon insignia, an Elite Guard insignia, I think, a Predacon insignia, and this other insignia down here that I'm not entirely familiar with. Let me know in the comments if you know what it is. And in the Peru battle where Scourge was chasing down the Autobots, you could see even more insignias on his grill, but there's way too many to discuss here. Let me know in the comments if you recognize any of them. But it honestly would have been really cool if we got to hear or see some of the stories of how Scourge got all these insignias, especially considering that he has a Predacon insignia on his body. And like I talked about previously, it would have been nice to see the Predacons in live action, and this could have been a perfect way for Stephen Caple Jr. to slip an Easter egg to the Predacons into the movie, but that didn't happen. And the Elite Guard insignia also has me curious, because in certain pieces of media, the Elite Guard is almost like the Autobots' military, so it would have been really cool to see Scourge take down some of those guys, because they seem pretty powerful in series like Transformers Animated, but unfortunately, That did not happen. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to make a video where I predict how he was able to get each of these insignias and sort of make up my own stories. I've been planning this video for a while. I'd love to hear in the comments if you'd actually like me to make it. But the fact that this super cool trait of Scourge was so criminally underused is definitely an unfortunate con for this movie. The final con I have with this movie is the fact that Optimus Primal wasn't the one who killed Scourge in the final battle. Optimus Prime was the one who did that. And don't get me wrong, that quote that he said right before he killed Scourge,
Time to show you the real power of a Prime!
was one of the coolest Optimus Prime quotes ever. So cool, but to be honest, I really feel like Optimus Primal would have been a better fit to actually be the one who killed Scourge. Don't get me wrong, Optimus Prime did lose Bumblebee to Scourge, but that was only temporarily because Bumblebee was brought back to life in the final battle. Optimus Primal lost way more to Scourge. He lost his mentor Ape-Link, he lost his entire home planet, and he even lost his friend AirRaiser because he was the one who had to kill AirRaiser because of Scourge's work of mind-controlling AirRaiser, causing her to be too dangerous to be left alive, as Mace Windu from Star Wars would say. And that's leaving out the fact that Scourge rudely mocked Optimus Primal when he was chasing after him when AirRaiser grabbed Elena. He rudely compared Optimus Primal to Ape-Link, knowing that that would trigger Optimus Primal because he loved his mentor so much. And that definitely worked, because look at Optimus Primal's face after Scourge mocked him like that. Look at that. He looks so mad here. I would have loved to see a fight between Optimus Primal and Scourge, and this is the closest thing that we got. And I still really feel like he should have been the one to kill Scourge in the final battle because of all the stuff that he lost to Scourge. And unlike Optimus Prime losing Bumblebee to Scourge, which was only temporary, all the stuff that Optimus Primal lost to Scourge wasn't temporary. He never got any of that back. So in my opinion, he definitely would have been a better fit to kill Scourge, and since he didn't, that's definitely an unfortunate con for this movie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those are all the pros and cons that I have with Transformers Rise of the Beasts. It's a phenomenal movie, which is why it's #1 on my ranking for the time being, but nothing is perfect, which is why I have a few cons for it, but the pros outweigh the cons because I have more pros for the movie than cons. I had 8 pros and only 6 cons. So, like I said, the pros outweigh the cons, which is why this movie is #1 right now. But please, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this movie. How many pros do you have? How many cons do you have? Was it a hit for you? Was it a miss for you? And be sure to let me know where this film falls in your ranking. I'd love to hear all your input down in the comments. Well, friends, this pretty much wraps up this review. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to click that big red subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a future video. I once again want to apologize for how late this video was. Rise of the Beast came out back in June, and it's October now. I just had a lot of details I needed to put into this video, and I did not want to miss a single thing. So I wanted to actually take as much time as I needed to get this video done, and I really hope this video is worth the wait for all you. And well, that's all I have to say. As always, I'm Raccoon-Formers, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.